we're going to take a fun trip from Florida, where Doc Rob is, over to Colorado. And we're going to tour a USDA certified organic hemp farm. And we're going to ask the folks at Bloom-Hemp what it took to become USDA certified organic. So, Graham, Thomas, are you online?
Let's see, I'm here. How are you doing, Denise?
Hi, Thomas. Everybody, this is Thomas Schnackenberg. Hopefully I didn't just...
No, you got that right. It's a pretty easy one. No one messes that one up for me.
Oh my goodness. What are we seeing behind you?
So here, let's start it out this way. I'll give you a nice little panorama here. Let me see if I get this turned around. So right here is Bloom's Hemp Farm. Like you said earlier, we're 100% USDA certified organic, and we are one of the few farms in the country that actually can make that title there and say it truthfully, and we can back it up by paperwork. But as you see, these plants they're getting big. Let me walk up to a couple of them here, but I mean we're looking at close to about 6 feet here in some of them, and I mean they're beauties. They're looking really solid this year. But yeah, got about 15 acres we've been working on, and yeah, this is where it all happens. This is the beginning of a lot of the products that you guys see, that you guys use. I mean, this is where it all begins.
So, Thomas, what did it take? I tried to grow some plants from seed, and it didn't go very well. So, what does it take to literally grow an entire farm and keep these plants healthy? They look amazing.
Oh, it's a lot of work, a lot of trial and error, and just, I mean, we've spent hours. We have a good team out here that puts in the work, and like I said, it's you just mentioned doing it by hand or your first time and it didn't go well. I mean, that happens out here, and there's not a book that was really written on how to grow 15 acres of USDA certified organic hemp, but it all starts with the soil. I mean, it's taking care of the soil. It's taking care of the organics that we put into the plant. It's taking care of the water, making sure that we test the water and make sure that there's no contaminants in there. And from there, it's just making sure we're on top of the nutrients we feed it. So it's treating them with love and giving them the respect they deserve, and knowing that they're going into products that people are consuming is part of the big reason why we wanted to push for this USDA certification out here. And it just speaks to what we have done and how we have kind of managed the operation over the last 5 years. We've been growing for a while now, and the first couple years we were a conventional hemp farm. When I say conventional, we didn't have our USDA certified organic certification. But as of 3 years ago, we started putting in the time, the research into looking at what we were putting in into these plants. Like I said earlier, the organics that we were putting into them, and really took it a step farther. And a lot of the farms out here, it's become kind of common practice when hemp farms, they don't use pesticides or anything. So of course, we didn't use pesticides. A lot of the people out here in the United States growing hemp don't do that, but we wanted to take it that step farther, and we started finding all organic nutrients, finding all organic seeds. It's not just plant seeds, put the right nutrients in the ground. You have to have organic seeds. I mean, here's a kind of cool thing. I mean, even how we prevent pests, different insects from being on the farm is we purchase organic ladybugs. I mean, we just dumped 70,000 in the farm last week, and they go around and they kind of maintain pest control for us as compared to spraying down pesticides and whatnot. So it's, like I said, that's long-windedly, it's a lot of hard work that goes into this. It's not an easy job. And I mean, when you're managing 20 plus acres, as you can see all around me, I mean, it's not like you just kind of walk one line every day and kind of just just pick the weeds. I mean, it's a full team effort, and that's what we're doing here, and just trying to create a quality product that you guys can enjoy.
Hi, Thomas and Graham. I'm Tasha Jackson from Natural Awakening San Diego. I have some questions for you here. And this question is for Thomas. What are some of the differences between farming hemp over marijuana?
So, I mean, there's a couple big differences here. I mean, you can grow marijuana outdoors, but the majority of marijuana out here in Colorado is grown indoors. That's not to say there isn't any farms out there, but hemp is out here in Colorado, it's grown outdoors. It's just an easier cycle for us. It makes sense financially, and it's a better environment for us. But to each is their own, honestly. It's whatever method works best for you. I'm not going to sit here and hate on indoor grows, because you can get more yield throughout the year doing that. But for our setup and for our farm, we're able to get one harvest in a season, and we're able to maximize the land that we have out here and make use of that throughout the course of a year. So that's kind of the biggest difference in my opinion. It's more of a what the farmer prefers and how and what assets they have at their hand there. Do they have an indoor facility, or do they have a big plot of land they could take advantage of?
Oh, thanks for that. And then, Graham, what documents or certifications do you have to have for the farm to function?
So for the farm to function organically, we had to have a group come out and audit the farm, and it's pretty straightforward. Like what Thomas was saying, it's really the hard effort and dedication that the team puts in, but it's just growing organically, like you would apples, oranges, and other fruits and vegetables. You just have to maintain organic ingredients, make sure that you're getting organic material being put back into the soil. I can share my screen here and show you guys kind of what can you guys see my screen?
Yep, we got you.
Perfect. So I'll show you what the conformity status looks like. So what we do is we're partnered up here, and our farm is actually called Dillon Farms. And we partnered up with the Dillon families years ago, but we go ahead as and DBA is Bloom Farms. But you can see it's the organic conformity status. So we work through a group called ProCert, and the things they like to see is the soil counts. So they like to see where our soil's at, the amount of heavy metals in the soil, make sure that's under. They like to see this is just more soil right here. They like to see the water analysis report. So just having this documentation and making sure you're on top of it is huge for them when they come do their audit, and it helps things along. And then this is kind of the golden ticket that everybody strives for. This is our USD Organic Certification. And when we got this, it was a really, really big day for us because, like Tom said, we were one of the first organic farms here in the US. But what adds to that is we took it a step further because we are vertically integrated. And I think we'll get a lot more into what I'm going to show you next on the next CANNA World in the fall. But we are actually one of the first companies to get vertically integrated on our processing as well, which made it very, very interesting for us, because now you hear a lot of companies that do have organic hemp, but they could never get over the hump to get their processing certified organic. Well, we put the hours in, we put the dedication in, and we actually got over that hump. And you can see here, Bloom-Hemp LLC is now, we have our status for organic, and we can process materials and finished goods for other companies. And that allows us to get that USDA logo onto finished goods as well for other companies, for Bloom-Hemp, and whoever's looking for it out there. And it adds that comforting seal for those looking for a high quality product. So something we're excited about, and definitely something that a lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into. But you guys can see it right now. It's no longer a myth. Here's your organic certification. So you can actually get USDA certified the entire way through.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you. And then, Thomas, how long is a grow cycle?
So typically we're running about 3 to 4 months, depending on the strain. A lot of it has to depend, or it depends on the genetics. I mean, you look at this one here. I mean, I'm 6'3", and this is up to my chin. And I mean, we still have another month and a half to go. So we're anticipating these plants. I mean, they're going to be 7-8 feet tall. And I mean, here, let me flip the camera around so you get a better view of it. But I mean, it's crazy. I mean, no one thinks that something that starts out as a seedling that's maybe that big gets to an 8-foot tall plant that has 20 plus pounds of flower on it when wet. I mean, when dry, once we dry it all down, we'll probably end up on these plants 1.5 to 2 pounds a plant. And I mean, over the course of a 15-acre farm, I mean, you do the math of 2 pounds a plant. I mean, that's good numbers. That's good volume, and that produces a lot of CBD, and that lasts us as our Bloom brand, our retail brand, as well as our partners, plenty to go throughout the year. But like Graham said, it's been a fun experience, to be honest, and just a great learning experience to be kind of a pioneer when it comes to organic hemp. We've kind of helped not only ProCert, the company that helped us get certified, but we've helped many people get that certification. But to answer your question, it's about 3 to 4 months depending on the strain. So we'll harvest here, I'm thinking middle of September is when we'll get started.
Wow, that's really exciting. Thank you. And then how important is it to have the same genetics each year?
So I wouldn't say it's crucial. What I guess the better question there would be, you want to make sure that your genetics are on point, meaning you don't want to buy from someone that doesn't have any testing around the genetics, any proof of what the genetics have done in the past, because if you put those in the ground, you're risking your entire growth. If those aren't producing quality plants, there's a number of issues that could come up with it. One being, you might get a low feminization rate. I don't know how familiar you guys are with growing, but these plants, all of these plants that are around us, are females. And if you get a male within the plant or within the genetics, that could ruin a large majority of your crop. The male will pollinate the females, and then therefore it will not produce the bud that it needs. So that's one issue that comes up with choosing bad genetics. And so another one is germination rate. Maybe they don't all pop. And so you buy, let's just say 1,000 seeds for the sake of math, maybe you only get a germination rate of 50%. And so now you're only planting 50% of what you intended. And when you're doing the financials on it and your projections at the beginning of the year, if you only end up with 50% of your harvest, then obviously that's a failed year. So it's very important to be consistent with buying quality genetics. As far as the same genetics, this industry is still relatively new. It's people are learning, people are developing new genetics all the time. For example, we have a test plot of about 2 acres where we're growing CBG genetics. So those plants will be high in CBG instead of CBD. So we are always trying to look for the new strain that can kind of push us over the limit here and take it maybe from doing 1 pound a plant to 2.5 pounds. So it's crucial to buy quality genetics. I wouldn't say it's crucial to buy the same genetics, but we are working on some things so that way we can develop our own genetics or keep pushing the boundaries on the genetics that we currently have. So we have partners that we work with on that, and honestly, we won't waver from them. We're not going to go anywhere else because we've proven the method with their genetics and we trust what they do.
And then I think you touched on this a little just very briefly, but can you elaborate more on how much raw material do you get from each plant?
Okay, so yes, there's a little bit of confusion sometimes, and typically how I like to refer to the flower that's going to come from each plant is per dried weight. And when I say dried weight is once we chop this plant down, it's going to weigh about 25 pounds, but then we go and hang dry it, and that it's going to lose a lot of that water weight, and it will shrink down to about 2 pounds of flour. And unfortunately, right now we don't have any flour, which is the actual where the CBD comes from. But yeah, we're going to get about 2 pounds a plant. And then over the course of a 15-acre farm, 2 times 15, we're going to get about 30,000 pounds of biomass or dried flower that we could then process into CBD isolate, CBD oil, CBD crude. Typically, we take it, since we're all organic, we take it to an oil, since you cannot have a certified organic isolate yet. They just don't have that method figured out at the moment. So if you want to relate it to kilos of CBD, we're looking in that kind of 400 to 500 kilos of CBD for this farm right here.
And then again, I think you touched on this next question whenever you were speaking about the ladybugs and how you ensure organic harvest and processing. So what are the steps that you go through to ensure that after growing?
And to ensure the harvest side of it, or just ensure that there's no insects?
Yeah, just after the growth period.
Okay, so yeah, after the growth period. So I don't know if you see over there, it's way out in the distance. We have a barn. So we come through. Hold on here. I'm switching between looking at me and looking at the plants a lot. So hang tight. So what we do, we come through, we chop down a plant right at the bottom. We then load that plant up and take it over to the barn where it hang dries. That barn is also certified organic. When we had our audit that Grant spoke of earlier, we have to ensure that we maintain organic protocols, and so there is no cross contamination when we move said plant to the barn. And when I say cross contamination, let's just use hemp as an example. Say we have a conventional hemp farm down the road, which we don't, but just for the purpose of the question, and we store that conventional hemp in that barn. So the purpose of making sure that barn is certified organic is that we have our SOPs and our standards in place, so there is no cross contamination between the organic plants and the conventional plants. So we take our plants, move them to the barn, they hang dry for a couple days. And when I say hang dry, we turn them upside down so that way they lose that water weight we discussed. They dry out, the buds harden up, and then once they get to the point where you could almost like take your fingers and crumble them up, we hand chuck them. And when I say hand chuck them, I mean we literally have 20 people out here just grabbing a plant and chopping off the buds or the flower. And that's what we accumulate right there. And that's what everyone's used to seeing, whether it's in a smokable flower or if it's taking it to an oil to use in a tincture, a lotion, soft gels, water soluble, whatever you might want to use it for.
During the growth process, do you use any form of insecticide?
No, that's those ladybugs.
Yeah.
Let me show you. We have 2 methods here of controlling pest insects and whatnot. One is the ladybugs. The other is walking up to the weeds and going like this and pulling the weed. You're not going to see a farm that has no weeds because it's near impossible to do. So ladybugs and pulling weeds is what kind of keeps everything in check out here.
And then again, you kind of touched on this earlier. So if you wanted to elaborate on it, how important is it to source genetics from a reliable source?
I would say it's very, very important. It's one of the most crucial steps in it. When we were searching for our geneticist, I traveled around the country to find the right one. I didn't just call up these particular or going to the facility to get that can make or break your year. And we've unfortunately in the beginning, like I said, grew 5 years, or been growing 5 years. So we've had our bumps on that, and we bought poor genetics in the beginning, and it really screwed us up. So once we flipped the switch to organic, we started. We pinpointed about 3 geneticists that we were very happy with, went and toured them all, and then we decided on which one we're going to go with, and we haven't left them since. So, answer your question again. One of the most important steps, in my opinion.
Sorry, as you're walking around, sometimes your video cuts out and the microphone cuts out.
Oh, my apologies. If I hold it up here a little bit better, is it? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but it's stuck on your video, just so you know.
Oh no. Okay. There's great service at farms typically, so hold on, I'll walk back this way.
No, it's fine. We can hear you now. And then what kind of equipment do you use to harvest the plants?
These hands. Okay, so again, the whole part of the process is it has to be organic. So we take kind of an old school approach to our harvest. We have, like I said, a 15-acre farm, and that is honestly not that big of a farm compared to some of them out there. But we fabricate a weed whacker, actually, as crazy as that sounds, and we put a blade on the bottom. And what we do is, I don't know if you could see me. Am I still frozen?
Yeah, your video's still frozen.
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Let me know when it cuts back in. But either way, we take that weed whacker and we fabricate it, put the saw on the bottom, and then we just come along and we hit it at the bottom of the plant, and then the plant falls down and we move it into the barn. So harvest is a pretty big operation. We have 20, 30 people out here. So we probably have about 10, 15 weed whackers going through, chopping them down, and then another 5 guys in trucks hauling them into the barn and hanging them.
Wow. Oh, there your video is.
I'm good?
Yeah. Oh, it froze again.
Oh, no. I wonder, I did maybe choose the wrong one earlier. I hit dial in with internet, which in retrospect might be a bad idea. But sorry about that.
That's okay. And then what does the future of hemp farming look like?
So Graham and I talk about this quite a bit here, and obviously CBD right now is prevalent. It's the most popular form of growing hemp, at least in the United States. Everyone's on this CBD boom. But what at Bloom we're very excited about is we've been on the CBD train for a while. We're digging into growing for fiber, growing for food, and other forms of hemp. So that way we could bring in all things hemp company to the forefront. We believe hemp can change the world. We could use it in a number of different ways. We could make hempcrete with it. We could make shoes with it, clothing. We have a food line already that contains no CBD, and so I am very hopeful that is the direction we could take it, not just for providing you guys products, but to show the world truly how special and how beautiful this plant is. And I believe a lot of the people that are on this probably have the same feeling there. I mean, otherwise you wouldn't be sitting here listening to it. So we really want to push the limits here when it comes to what we can do with this plant, and not just produce medicine, but we want to teach people how to grow it so they can make their own clothes in different parts of the world. We want to show them how to maximize it and how you could use it for food. I mean, hemp hearts. That's one of the Bloom products. Hemp hearts, sprouted hemp hearts, are one of the most nutritious superfoods out there. They're protein packed, omega rich, and I mean they could be used in a number of ways that just people aren't educated about. So, as far as the future of hemp, I think we're just scratching the surface over the last 5 years. We want to push this thing to the limit and use it and grow not just for CBD, but for all these other uses that are out there.
Yes, and before we get into the last few questions, I really wanted to thank you for giving us such a great educational presentation, you and Graham, because it is so important that we're educated on the plant and the medicinal and therapeutic uses of it. And so, Graham, which organizations can we look out for to learn more or to get help with U.S. hemp farming?
I think As far as U.S. farming, there's a few agricultural websites out there, but to be honest, there are not a lot of organizations that focus on hemp, and it's unfortunate. So I personally think it's a collective that we have to kind of come up with. Now, the U.S. Hemp Authority, though, if you want to check them out, they do a lot of good things for hemp and hemp laws here in the United States, and that is really, I think, the group that is pushing the most forward. But like Thomas said, there really is a lack of interest, not only education, but just a lack of interest in things that are, in my opinion, more important for the long haul of what hemp can bring, and that's plastics. We can have replacements that are biodegradable. Um, Graphite, that it's a conductor that emits almost no electricity when you hold on to it, so it's one of the best conductors. There's just so many different things that hemp can do that I'm personally surprised, and I know Thomas is surprised, that we really don't get into as much as CBD, because CBD is just so media forward right now, and it's really the hot topic. And I think because it's got the most money in it, unfortunately. When you talk about fiber and food, there's only a handful of companies in North America, and they're all in Canada. There was two farms in the United States that were growing for fiber and food, and they had to shut down because of lack of interest. So what we're doing with Bloom is we're really setting the bar high with our CBD quality, so we can get as many eyes and as many views on it as possible. And then we'll introduce food. And then once food is introduced, which everybody loves to eat, then we can start talking about our other passions, which is plastics and fiber and hempcrete, and just bringing in emissions and paper. We're cutting down trees at an alarming rate, which everybody knows. Well, hemp, you can get more paper out of an acre of hemp than you can out of an acre of trees, and they grow in 90 days, not 90 years. So it's amazing just what this plant can do and how we can change the world with it. But it's baby steps at this time. So we're riding the wave of CBD right now, and hopefully we get a lot of eyes on it, and then we can start educating slowly to the other aspects of hemp. So, but to your question, I think the group that's doing it best right now is U.S. Hemp Authority, and because they're really pushing the bar as far as legalities, and they have a lot of great information on their website.
Thank you so much. And then Thomas and Graham, did you have any last words or thoughts that you'd like to share with the audience?
Thank you for your time and just letting us have this platform. I know Denise and myself and Graham have been in contact on some things, so I think we got some special projects that you and your followers are really going to enjoy. So we look forward to kind of being a part of this journey with you and CANNA World Expo, and just getting comfortable with you guys over the next year and being a part of the crew.
Yeah, well said. Thanks, guys.
I have a question for you guys before we take off.
Yep.
What is your expectation on growth with your own farm? You got 15 acres, and where do you see yourself in the next 3 years? And then the second part of that question is, what are you going to be doing with all the waste that is coming off of all your production?
So interesting you asked that. We'll touch on the first question first. And so when you're growing organically, you have to have a crop rotation, meaning we cannot grow on the same plot of land every single year. So technically we have up to 60 acres of organic land out here. So we every season have to grow on a different plot. We want to perfect what we do before we expand. We want to make sure that we could hit every and be as efficient as possible with this. And so the next step would be looking to grow for fiber out here, grow for food on some smaller plots, maybe just even if it's a couple acres right now, and grow that way, because we've proven on the CBD side we can produce CBD. The CBD is, I mean, we do it well, and we're happy with the smaller farm, but we also have to maintain those organic standards by having one plot available for next year's grow. I don't know if you could see it out there, but there's a lot of barren land out there because that's the side we grew on last year. But as far as the waste goes, we're working with a couple companies out here to take this and just turn it into, I mean, we've even looked into some ways of like making it into some like bioavailable energy. So we're working with companies that will take the product itself, the waste, and then go in and run some R&D on it to figure out the best ways that we can maximize this, because this style of plant isn't necessarily the best for fiber or food. So we have to figure out some better ways to use it. And so it's still a work in progress, but the energy sector is something that we have looked into with the leftovers that we have.
Aside from that, you mentioned hempcrete. What are your thoughts on the guys that are out of Kentucky that are making those tiles, and the guys that are talking about creating those bricks to go ahead and use as insulation? Aside from just the fiber, I'm talking about the hurd and processing it with soy polymers in order to go ahead and create the blocks that they're producing out there. What are your thoughts on that? Have you guys considered some of those opportunities with what you guys are doing?
Graham, you want to hop on that one for us? Because I know you've looked into some different
so we
ways.
are definitely interested, and we've reached out to groups like that to get involved with now, and not even on a sense of our product, but just being a part of an organization and creating a bit of a collective there, and them teaching us when we start doing our fiber. As far as our plants are right now, they're very, very different than what you would get with an industrial hemp grow. So the plants are grown traditionally 18 feet high, but they have very, very thick stalks on them. When you look at the plants in the back, they look like marijuana plants. You know, it's just the breeding that's happened over the past 6-7 years here in the U.S. that allows us to grow the plants for maximizing cannabinoid potency. So they grow like medicinal plants, and not like their industrial plant background that everybody thinks. Yep. You know, the big thing when I was first getting into the space was the European hemp, and you know, I've sold a lot of European hemp in my day, and it's different. You would get a maximum of maybe 3% CBD, and you would have to use the entire plant. It wasn't until the Farm Bill that we were allowed here in the U.S. to grow the plants like they are today, where we can use just the flower. And it took years and years of genetic breeding to get the plants to a point where we have now 30% at the flower. So, you know, it's just a very different style of growing and a very different plant. Now, back when we were doing it from European plant, they were getting into the industrial side with fiber. So they would press the plants, they would strip down most of the leaves, and they would use some of the stalk, but the waste would go to fiber manufacturers, and they would use that fiber in hempcrete. They would use them in plastics and those types of things. But our plants just you can't get enough out of them for that to be even worth our while, or the groups like the group in Kentucky to get a truck out here and bring all our stuff in. And it's just not enough. We don't have enough land.
And I could touch on that. And like also guys, like it's something, part of the reason we've teamed up with CANNA World Expo is if anyone has any ideas or any connections to be able to help us out with what we do and perfect the process, that's why we're here. We're not perfect on that side of the of it, and we would love to work with some teams out there that might have some suggestions of what we can do and how we can better that process of our operation. And I mentioned Denise a couple times that we've talked about and trying to find ways to just kind of push this thing forward, and we need some of your help. So if anyone has any suggestions, we'd love you to get in touch with us and just help us for maximizing what we can do out here.
There's a couple of things that I can think of just off the top of my head, but maybe a decorticator would work after you're through with your harvest on your flower. And that'll go ahead and basically break up what you do have into the hurd, the fiber, as well as the powder that you can then run through your system again to go ahead and do more of an extraction if you wanted to pull more CBD out of it. But those other two components are can be used in hemp board can be used to use insulation. I've been going down that road for quite a bit. And the problem is, the reason you don't see it, it isn't from a lack of interest. There's plenty of interest. There's just no money in it because I can't sell fiberboard at $135 when I can get it for $30. So it gets a little bit challenging when you're going up against those kinds of numbers. So
yeah, those margins are just hard to beat right there.
Yeah, we got to get to that level where, again, it's a specialty item. It sequesters carbon. There's a million things that it does, and there's plenty of books you can read about that. And tip my hat off to you guys. You guys are at the tip of the spear with what you're doing. Again, an effort that can be coordinated through Denise, CANNA World Expo, Jessica. I think that it would leaps and bounds to really push what we're doing, because we've tried your products. Your products are spot on. Are there ways to go ahead and improve so that you're not getting 1 pea per plant dry weight? Oh yeah, absolutely. Guys that I work with are pulling 12 dry, 13, 14, 15 dry. It's just a matter of the nutrient line and how you're working what you're working. And again, I'm not here to go ahead and harsh on anybody. I'm sure you guys are knocking it out like you can for your outdoor. But we need to go ahead and put our heads together so that your margins, your cost to produce go down and your margins go up. So, whatever we can do to help.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Well, thank you, everybody. Thomas, for taking us on a live tour of a USDA certified organic hemp farm.
Yeah, thanks for the
been
tour.
an incredible.
It was cool.
It's
Awesome.
A beautiful view from what we see, and we're super excited about Bloom-Hemp, what Bloom-Hemp is providing to the world. I'd like the viewers to know that, as Dino just said, we have tried the product. Seriously, folks. There is a link on CANNA World Expo's website under sponsors. If you go click on that, there's a coupon code for 20% off. And definitely try these products out. They are incredible. Thomas, Graham, thank you so much